Juan Carlos, who was an 18-year-old Guatemalan migrant living in Pasadena, Texas, found himself in deep waters. He entered the Texas border through El Paso in January 2023, hoping to seek asylum to possibly find a better life. He was reportedly soliciting in the streets of Baton Rouge, Louisiana with other migrants. He felt disinterested with Baton Rouge and moved to Pasadena, Texas. He rented an apartment complex next to our victim Maria Gonzalez, in which she had a long life ahead of her until it was cut short by a sick, twisted man. Children are curious, but she was not at fault. Juan Carlos was getting used to the new environment, and he found children playing around the apartment complex. And next to the apartment complex, he saw a father with a daughter. He was spying on the family through the curtains of his window, and when Maria Gonzalez was left alone while her father went to work, Juan Carlos would take the chance and knocked on the door. Maria Gonzalez would be pronounced dead at 11 years old. Her father came back from work and heard nothing but silent noise. He went to every room, but the last room that he went in had a horrid smell. His eyes widened and began to whimper as he found his daughter's remains under her bed dumped inside a trash bag. He immediately called 911 and began to lose his mind. The police conducted their investigation and found a key in the kitchen that belonged to another resident. Next door was Juan Carlos, and questioned the neighbor why the key was in the home of Carmelo Gonzalez. He was later detained and admitted that he R-worded Maria and sliced the little girl enough to stuff her in the trash bag. It's safe to say that he had a sexual attraction for little girls and even little boys. The locals mourned after her horrific death and led the 18-year-old Guatemalan to face the death penalty, as a judge saw no remorse from the man. Maria's father warned her to not open the door to strangers, as she had a habit of opening doors for random people. According to Fox 26, "I told her don't open the door because I'm arriving at work." She corresponds with, "I'm in bed." After the incident, he says they left her under the bed in a plastic bag, and describes the violent imagery. No father wants to see their children hurt, but this hurts a father's heart. The victim's godmother in Guatemala, Annie Elizabeth, has demanded justice in the case. "I don't want to cry anymore because I have a bad heart," she told Telemundo 47, where she resides with Maria's younger sisters and other relatives. Taylor Shaw Business was a normal American woman living in Chicago with a rough past. She was raised by her parents until the family moved to Wisconsin when she was in 4th grade. Her mother died in 2009 due to cirrhosis and alcoholism, and her father gave up on the family. She attended public schools in Wisconsin until her senior year, but she was expelled for fighting with several students. She then moved to Texas, where she completed school while living with her paternal grandparents. When she graduated from high school, she frequently had manic episodes and developed PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, and was given medications to ease her manic episodes. It's also unclear how she developed schizophrenia, in which it may be correlated to stressful life events as a kid. Shaw Business is 6 years younger than her husband Warren E. Chabot. Between 2010 and 2020, he was convicted of several charges in Wisconsin, including theft, armed burglary, marijuana dealing, disorderly conduct with the domestic abuse modifier, operating while intoxicated and resisting an officer. He was later arrested for 2 years for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine and pleaded to possession with intent to deliver drugs. On the other hand, Shaw Business was doing petty crimes to questionable things, such as standing in the middle of the street until she was forcibly removed by Wisconsin police. Since Taylor's boyfriend was in jail, she hooked up with a man named Shad Thyrion, a former high school friend who unexpectedly met a dangerous woman whom he thought would be the love of his life. Shad was stepping into unknown territory. They met on Facebook and had something in common, and that was doing drugs and sex was a daily routine for them. It was February 23rd, and Shad was still living with his mother, but Shad's mother was not home until 9:30 in the afternoon. Taylor had the idea to go to his mother's home to have sexual intercourse, in which this idea was planned in the morning. It took them a while for sexual intercourse, as all they did for the rest of the afternoon was to shoot up meth, do lines of cocaine, and to finish it off the day with some ounces of weed. The day wasn't entirely over, as they both decided to have sex in the basement alone. As they were about to have sex, they instead agreed to kinky roleplay. Shad was facing down on the bed, and suddenly chains were pulled out, and Shad agreed to be choked by Taylor with the chains. She starts to perform her sexual acts. but goes too far, and Shad doesn't notice as now he is being choked by Taylor. Shad began to cough up blood, and his face started to swell up, and his face turned bright purple. At this moment, Taylor passed out because she was on 4 different drugs, but woke up and she complained why her boyfriend was still alive after choking him for 3 to 5 minutes. Taylor had a weird obsession with killers, mainly Jeffrey Dahmer. She made 24 disturbing Google searches about Jeffrey Dahmer, such as Jeff Boyardee, Jeffrey Dahmer's ass, Jeffrey Dahmer walking into court all sexy. She was planning to even buy a customized sex doll of Jeffrey Dahmer. This is relevant to the case because this is a direct inspiration from a killer who was sexually aroused through sadistic behavior. Taylor woke up and began to choke Shad. Blood was pouring onto the sheets. Blood was pouring on the floor. Shad was moaning in pain, and Taylor woke up and proceeded to choke Shad again. A minute later, Shad's body is unresponsive, and according to Taylor, he knew what was about to happen until the very last second. Shad was trying to break away from the chain, but it was too late. He was already weakened. Detectives were questioning why she did it. Why did you kill your boyfriend? She responds, I enjoyed choking him, and if you love something so much, then you kill it. But it gets worse. Taylor admits playing with her boyfriend's carcass for 3 hours, which included sucking his penis and putting a dildo into his mouth and anal cavity. Then she would start cutting his organs out and cut his leg off from pure enjoyment. It was almost 9:30, and Shad's mother had just got home and relaxed in her bedroom until she heard a loud bang in the basement. The stairs creaked, and no one was in the basement but found her son's head in a bucket. Taylor fled the crime scene but purposely left her boyfriend's head in the basement because, quote-unquote, she was lazy. The police were called, and Shad's mother informed the police that the only person with Shad was his girlfriend.
Is that also when you used the dildo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have sex with his body at all? At any point, or any type of sexual contact? You know, obviously the dildo and stuff,
Put
but...
the dick in his ass. I grinded on him, I put the dick in his ass.
You grinded on?
Yeah, I listened.
Did you ever put his penis in your vagina? Or maybe you just grind on him? Did you see?
It was getting there.
It was getting there, okay. So will this be considered foreplay?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And then, I don't know. And then, I just didn't stop. I don't know why. I didn't stop.
You guys done something like this in the past?
Not like that.
Do you use manual strangulation during sex at all? Is Shad like that?
A manual strangulation? Yes.
He likes strangulation?
It is.
And what is depicted in Exhibit 19?
This photograph was taken particularly of the wooden knife block that was right next to the stove.
And what was the evidentiary significance based on your understanding of the investigation?
When we started to process the basement, we had found several kitchen knives, what appeared to be kitchen knives, that we believed, based on how they were found, would have been involved in the homicide. And the knives were consistent both in number and appearance with the knives in the kitchen block.
So is that now depicted on the screen?
It is.
And what is Exhibit 24?
It's the black Fleet Farm bucket and the multicolored towel. I'd see they have some placards down in this photo and are holding a sample indicator.
What are the purpose of the placards?
Forensic specialists take great care in documenting what they're capturing. So they'll take a picture of an image with a placard, and then as they itemize evidence, will refer to that placard that they collected.
And Exhibit 25, is that now depicted on the screen?
It is.
And what is shown in Exhibit 25?
This is 2 knives, a Jolly Rancher, a nail, a razor head, and some flesh tissue was described. These were in the bottom in the Fleet Farm bucket underneath the remains that we recovered.
So these are items that were located in the bucket and then ultimately collected by Green Bay PD?
They were.
37, is that now on the screen?
It is.
What is depicted?
It's one of the knives in the Jimmy Choo bag. It appears to be a bread knife out of the kitchen block.
Were you able to make any specific observations about that knife?
I mean, the obvious observation was the red tissue and staining on the handle and on the blade. One thing I particularly noticed was for a serrated bread knife.
Taylor was a wicked psychopath. She was planning more with Shad's body, and that was to cut the remaining flesh off the bone. For approximately 3 hours, Taylor spent that time to skin her dead boyfriend with a knife and razor, then made an incision below his stomach all the way up to his throat. She then played with his organs and made remarks that she would do it again. The courtroom was silent, but as the camera gazes toward her direction, she uncontrollably laughs as the judge talks about her dismembered boyfriend. Taylor's father, Arturo Coronado, blames Taylor's ex-husband, Warren E. Chabot. His main contention was, quote-unquote, she never did drugs until you met him, which is true because she never did any violent crimes before doing drugs. Taylor is still waiting for her official sentencing. Lucy Letby was a British woman born in a middle-class household in Hereford, England. To strangers and even loved ones, Letby lived a relatively normal life and was described as goofy and kind by friends. In school, she was considered the quiet geek as she excelled in most subjects. The day she was born, she was remarkably saved by a group of nurses in which Lucy reevaluated her thinking to become a nurse herself. Her parents, Susan and John, believed in her ability to strive highly in college, and so she did. After graduating, Letby qualified as a children's nurse at the University of Chester in 2011. She then completed training placements in Liverpool Women's Hospital just 2 days before her 22nd birthday. She lived in several homes until she purchased a red brick semi-detached home in 2016. At this time and period of her life, it felt like a dream. She lived a good childhood, lived a normal middle-class home, surpassed college, then lands a job at nursing. Her life at this point was extraordinarily peaceful, but Lucy had the compulsion to kill. What makes her terrifying is her lifestyle. Her home was littered with children's toys, but she had no children or was planning to have children. For most people too, Lucy looks like any other ordinary Brit woman with a high-end career trying to earn money responsibly, but her home fell off. In her bedroom, children's toys were laid across her bedsheets and inscribed with the words, "Sweet Dreams." Then some picture saying, "Leave sparkles wherever you go," was pinned on the wall illuminated by LED lights. But it was more than just children's toys in her room. Her mind was too complex to understand her true motives to become the worst serial killers in England's history. Psychologists believe that she was suffering from low self-esteem and self-confidence, which is correlated to depression and anxiety. Lucy was growing interest throughout the years with a male doctor whose name is nowhere to be found due to legal reasons. It was speculated that Lucy had a romantic crush on a married doctor, having exchanged hundreds of messages with him. They'd been on these supposed dates, such as grabbing a cup of coffee together in the morning, going on a trip to London, and even spend time at her home. However, these dates were never dating. Lucy was getting desperate, as she wanted the man to be a part of her life already. However, Lucy trusted her confidence and didn't expect the answer she was looking for, as her supposed lover rejected her. This resulted Lucy to harass the married doctor's wife through social media, such as Facebook and Instagram, but this information will be redacted from the public. At work, she was trusted and dedicated, having completed specialist training in March 2014 and regularly working in what was called Nursery 1, where the most ill children were cared for. It was known as the Hot Room, an average-looking room with yellow walls alongside paintings of owls and teddy bears. Lucy worked in low-intensive care such as Nursery 2, 3, and 4. However, Lucy argued with her supervisor that she wanted to work in the Hot Room, which is known for its intense, fast-paced environment. She would text colleagues when working in the lower-risk nurseries that she was bored and wanted to work harder, but this was far from the truth, as prosecution stated moving Lucy to the Hot Room triggered the attacks. Her first attack was on June 8, 2015. Lucy used several methods to kill or severely injure the helpless victims, including physical assaults, overfeeding with milk, forcing air into their stomachs and injecting air into their bloodstreams. The first baby she killed was a 6-week premature baby along with his twin sister, child B. It was days old and healthy. Lucy worked night shifts, and under her care was child A. Then within 90 minutes, by injecting a fatal amount of air into his bloodstream, child A would pass away early in the morning. Dr. Ogden returned to duty for the following day shift, and heard the news that child A passed away at the start of his shift. Under Dr. Ogden's care, he would have remarked to his colleagues that there were no signs of any problems with child A. 28 hours after murdering child A, child B, being child A's twin sister, would also be a victim of Lucy's killings. Child B remarkably survived, but no one raised an eyebrow in why suddenly child B would be visibly hurt as she would inject oxygen through the bloodstream, which caused cell death and tissue inflammation. This would be considered attempt of murder in the eyes of the judge. After killing child A, Lucy messaged her lover about the baby's issues, writing, "This made me think I was not good enough." He replies with, "You are one of the few nurses I would trust with my own children." Lucy also messaged a friend about him, to which she says, "I think he likes you too," and later added, "He's flirty just like you." She would proceed to work in the hot room as her colleagues thought that the death of child A under her care died of unnatural causes. It was 9 p.m. during August. A mother arrived on the neonatal unit with express breast milk for her 5-day-old twin boys. The twin babies were born 11 weeks prematurely and were expected to live a happy life in a couple of days. As their mother arrived, a horrendous loud screech came from outside Nursery 1. The mother rushed in and saw Lucy standing near child E's incubator. Her son had fresh blood around his mouth and was in extreme distress. Distressed mother demanded an explanation from Lucy, who wore a yellow butterfly sticker on her name badge. Reassured her that he was okay, and the blood was just from a feeding tube rubbing on his throat. 2 hours later, the doctors were racing to save child E's life. He had lost more than a quarter of his blood, and the skin of his tummy turned purple and white. Sadly, he was pronounced dead at 1:40 in the afternoon. Child E's incubator was beside child F's incubator, which was his twin brother, and his twin brother was her next target. He had been prescribed a tiny dose of insulin to help regulate his blood sugar levels 2 days after his birth, and was being fed fluid nutrients from a bag connected via an intravenous long line to his leg. In the early hours of August 5th, just 24 hours after his twin had died, Lucy injected insulin into the bag connected to child F's veins and added more to a replacement bag that would be used when the first bag ran out. The 5-day-old boy's heart rate surged, and his blood sugar levels plummeted, and one of his legs swelled up. The doctors, perplexed, changed the fluid bag, but it had saw no improvement. Little did they know, the insulin was still dripping into child F's body. It was slowly killing him, and this resulted in the 5-day-old baby passing away. Lucy's main target was twin babies, and she even explained why she was killing mainly twin babies. After arresting Lucy, the British police found a chilling discovery. They found notes almost like clues containing her true feelings about her job and personal life. Lucy wrote, "I am evil. I did this. I don't deserve to live. I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to take care of them. I will never marry or have children. I will never know what it's like to have a family." She wrote plenty of times about her distress, about her own personal life, and it seems that she has been bottling up her emotions and her pent-up aggression for years. Psychologists are still trying to find a clear motive, but it seems like consensus has still not been found. Psychologists argue that Lucy had narcissistic tendencies, probably because she was rejected a year ago. And so, a mother gave birth to 2 twin boys and was transported to Lucy's care, named child L and M. The twin brothers survived. However, child L suffered permanent brain damage. Lucy was sneakily alone in a room where she was surrounded by babies. Suddenly, she pulls out a needle and injects insulin in an IV bag. On the other hand, child M's heart rate and breathing dropped dramatically, and he came too close to death because Lucy injected insulin in the IV bag. At this point, suspicion was raised, and it looked like Lucy was finally going to be arrested. The children's parents, such as child A, B, and C, accused Lucy of hurting their children. Dr. Stefan, her manager, reviewed the deaths of child A, B, and C, and he found that Lucy was in charge and alone with child A, B, and C, and she was responsible responsible for taking care of those children. October 2015, Lucy's manager looked at her graph and a spike of deaths that were unexplained and unexpected, and that was coming from specifically Lucy herself. However, Lucy's assassinations were finally coming to an end. A woman gave birth to child N, O, and P, and Lucy heard about a woman giving birth to triplets. And not even a day later, Lucy was planning to kill the 12-hour baby, child N, by ramming a nasogastric tube down his throat, using his hemophilia as a cover-up to explain the severe bleeding. She finished her 12-hour shift, then returned to work the following morning. Lucy texted her friends that she would be back in with a bang, a reference she insisted to the unit being busy rather than anything sinister. At lunchtime, when the boys were almost 48 hours old, Child O's heart rate began to rise uncontrollably, and his tummy swelled up like a balloon. The parents were notified about the horrific news that Child O was pronounced dead at 6 p.m. 13 minutes after Child O was dead, Lucy was beginning to kill Child P by repeatedly pumping air inside his stomach, causing his diaphragm to shatter into pieces. Lucy's face was filled with tears, and she brought the two dead triplets into a private family room with the distraught parents. But Lucy's body language made the parents very suspicious. For every baby wounded or killed, a family member would throw a lawsuit or an accusation. Some didn't, but most did. Lucy was carrying a lot of weight, but to shake it off, she would need to pay the price. And at this point, she spent 3 months in the Risk and Patient Safety Office. In other words, she was facing disciplinary action and being supervised 24/7 due to the unexpected debts coming from Lucy. Then she received a letter from her manager about the allegations surrounding her involvement in the unexpected number of deaths. The police got involved, and on July 3rd, 2018, Lucy was met with the British police to finally arrest her.
Oh, Lucy, is it? Yes. Hello, my name's Chester, please. Look, it's Stefan, 2 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anybody else? Oh, so can you say the Johnson, right? Yeah, not a problem.
I'm going to put you in the back seat over here.
Hold on, man.
Yes.
Get the seat up.
Okay, just take a seat in there for me, Lucy. I'll move that seat forward a bit shortly.
Yeah, I've just had knee surgery. So.
Oh, right, okay.
Unfortunately, the police interview hasn't been released to the public yet, but the police have mentioned that Lucy would cry uncontrollably during normal conversations. However, the police wouldn't mention the dead children, but Lucy would seize her tears. It's clear that Lucy didn't have empathy for the children that she killed. And so on. The judge came to a decision and reviewed every baby's status and sentenced her to life in prison.